Hi, my name is Trinity Kleck, and this is my Anthems of Change video project. So, to start, Frank Ocean is a genre-bending artist, and he's known for his emotional honesty. He's got quite an experimental sound, and above all things, I think Frank has cultural influence. The song that I want to focus on here is his 2016 track, Nikes. This is the opening track on the album Blonde by Frank Ocean, and it delivers sharp critiques of consumer culture and, most importantly, in my opinion, systemic racism and the commodification of grief, all while celebrating Frank's own queer identity, being a member of the LGBTQ plus community as an African-American man living in America. He offers a poignant reflection on love, loss, and somewhat identity in a capitalist world. So, musically, looking at Nikes, the song opens up with Frank Ocean's voice heavily pitched up. It's almost an alien-like quality that lies within this track. I think this detaches the listener from reality and sets somewhat of a dreamlike tone for this track. I believe the distorted vocal goes to reflect the disconnection and unreality of fame and the state of somewhat the world when the song came out. The sparse beat and the shimmering synths, along with there's a very slow tempo within the song. They all work together to somewhat create an introspective atmosphere, one where the listener can really sit there and think and listen and absorb these lyrics. As the pitched up voice fades and his natural vocals kind of come into this song, I believe the emotional intimacy deepens in a way. He uses layered harmonies and ambient textures and really just emphasizes this theme of vulnerability and contemplation. I think these are two characteristics that define a great body of his work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a quick snippet from the music video. This is the particular scene that correlates to the racial injustice section, which I briefly touched upon. Go ahead and listen.
Of everybody. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Pepsi.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Trayvon. That nigga look just like me.
Wow, what a powerful section we just listened to. So, the last few lines that we just heard are obviously mourning the loss of people who have passed away, which are Trayvon Martin, Pimp C, and ASAP Yams. Now, what I think Frank Ocean is doing here is turning these deaths into political statements, and he's going and questioning how society tends to exploit tragedy. In the video, when Frank says R.I.P. Trayvon, he's actually holding up a picture of Trayvon Martin, who was a victim of police brutality. And what Frank Ocean is stating in the lines that he says is he's saying, even though he's a person, with fame and he has grandeur about him, he's still in a position as an African American living in this country where he could be subject to the same kind of brutality. And it's just an extremely powerful line that he delivers. It really makes the listener think, especially after setting the introspective tone that he did with the musical content. Furthermore, I think Frank Ocean's openness about his sexuality and his rejection of toxic masculinity, it goes to mark a significant cultural moment, especially for queer black men in hip-hop and R&B spaces. I think Nikes is much more than just a song. I believe it's a statement of identity. The concept of identity is explored extensively throughout this album, and I've read so many articles on just how Frank is, going about that topic. I believe what else is touched on is obviously grief in this song. There's a prevalent theme of grief and resistance. I think Frank Ocean is inviting listeners to reflect on what we value and why we do so. So, thank you so much.